guys, welcome back to the Holistic Health Book Club. Currently, we are reading Blueprint for Health by Dr. Annabelle Lee Warren and Joe Willard, and today we will be reading Chapter 3, which is The Delusion of Healthcare, and it begins with a quote. The effort to cure disease has been, without doubt, the greatest curse that has ever perpetrated upon the human race. The idea that disease is something that must be cured, the idea that it is something that can be cured, must be eradicated from the human mind before we can ever hope to arrive at a rational solution of our health problems. Dr. Herbert Shelton from Human Life, Its Philosophy and Laws, written in 1928. And let's start. Okay, so our nation's healthcare system, supported by a sophisticated medical technology, has proven to be an absolute failure in reducing illness in spite of the billions spent on the care of the sick. A look at the national health expenditures for the past half-century reveals an alarming situation. In 1929, 3.5% of the gross national product was spent on our healthcare. However, by the year 1987, the percentage of GNP spent on healthcare had risen to 11.1%, the highest spent by any of the 22 Western countries of the world. This percentage represented a total of $500.3 billion, of which $6.8 billion was spent on pharmaceutical drugs. Have the billions spent on healthcare decreased the patient death rate and increased the health of the population? A look at some recent statistics will provide an answer. The following information was recorded for the years through 1970 through 1988 per 100,000 population. So we have a few statistics. The first one is the death rate for major cardiovascular disease stayed between 296 and 496. Number 2, deaths from malignancies climbed steadily from 162.8 to 196.6. Number 3, death from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease more than doubled from 15.2 to 13.3. 4, the death for diabetes held steady between 15.4 and 18.9. 5, the death rate for septicemia, poisoning of the blood, had an alarming jump from 1.7 to 8.5. And lastly, number 6, the death rate for all other unnamed causes of disease increased from 53.5 to 69.9. Additionally, the average yearly death rates from medical substances and procedures during this period of the time was 34,203. The facts show that not only has the incidence of disease along with deaths from disease increased, but also that the treatments sought from doctors has only added more suffering. In the May of 1978, an issue of Emergency Magazine, pharmacist John Oliver of La Mesa, California, is quoted here as saying, "A drug is any foreign material introduced into the body. A drug circulates in the body, and as it circulates, it impacts specific sites. Circulation in the body, coffee and tea exert pharmacological effects. Drugs are poison. Of course they are. Why else would the body neutralize and eliminate them? There's no such thing as an absolutely safe drug. The human body is not designed to take drugs. The drug will not cause the body to do anything it cannot of itself do. It will do one of two things: stimulate or depress a physiological function. It cannot create a new function. Drug affect multiple systems of the body. No drug is specific for a particular target area in the body to the exclusion of any other physiological system. Drugs act according to strict chemical and physical laws, and while the conditions surrounding the drug use may vary, the laws do not. See Chapter 2, The Immutable Laws of Life. There are more than 15,000 deaths annually from drug misuse and an estimated 500,000 non-fatal accidents involving drugs. Drugs are taken too much for granted. They are not accorded the skepticism that they deserve. The sad truth is that not just a recent phenomena. The sad truth is that this is not just a recent phenomena, as verified by the following statements. Number 1. The remedies are administered for the cure of measles, scarlet fever, and other self-limited diseases kill far more than do other diseases. Professor B.F. Barker, MD of the New York Medical College. Number 2, Dr. Snow, a health officer of Providence, Rhode Island, reported in the Boston Medical and Surgical Journal that he had treated all the cases of smallpox which had prevailed endemically in the city without a particle of medicine, and that all the cases, some of which were very grave, recovered. Number 3, Professor William Tooley was recorded saying that some years previous, the typhoid pneumonia was so fatal in some places of the Connecticut River Valley that the people became suspicious that the physicians were doing more harm than good, and in their desperation, they actually combined against the doctors and refused to employ them at all, after which no deaths occurred. Number 4, the science of medicine is a barbarous jargon, and the effects of our medicines on the human system is in the highest degree uncertain, except indeed that they have destroyed more lives than war, pestilence, and famine combined, says Dr. John Good Mason. John Mason Good. I'm dyslexic today. I apologize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5 is a quote by Dr. James Johnson, an editor of the Medico Chirurgical. It's spelled Chirurgical. Chirurgical? Okay, I don't know. Review. I will just insert something here maybe. Okay, so it's a quote, or I'm just going to show you how it's spelled. Anyway, so it reads, I declare as my conscientious conviction, found on the long experience and reflection, that if there were not a single physician, surgeon, man, midwife, chemist, apothecary, druggist, or drug on the face of the earth, there would be less sickness and less mortality than now prevail, says Dr. John Johnson, the editor of the Medico Chirurgical Review. That's my attempt. Okay, moving on. To shed more light on the sobering reality of the present status of the American people, the following statistics are presented. More stats. Number 1, the U.S. Public Health Services recognize a mere 3 million of the 249 billion population as being healthy. Over 200 billion are hooked on one or more drug habits. Drugs are frequently used as caffeine in coffee and soft drinks, salt, nicotine, alcohol, aspirin, theanine in tea, and theobromine in cocoa and chocolate. An estimated 42 million suffered from high blood pressure, arthritic and rheumatic complaints, affects 75 to 80% of the adult population. 1 out of every 3 adults will have cancer. It is the #1 killer of children. 1 of 5 under the age of 17 already has some chronic disabling disease. Nearly 50% suffer from chronic digestive disorders. Constipation is the national disease since 9 out of 10, approximately 190 million, suffer from a clogged colon. Little or no recognition by doctors and general public that choice of foods consumed plays a vital role in health status. And lastly, number of Americans who are seriously overweight jumped to 1/3 of the population in 1980, according to the results from a long-term study by Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. The foregoing all point to one conclusion. The medical system which governs the healthcare in the US is not working to benefit the American people. It has been suggested that there are 2 basic reasons which account for this fact. #1, medicine has its origin from primitive cultures, and #2, medicine is big business, a means of securing megadollars, prestige, and power. From our earliest historical writings, it appears that primitive human cultures regard disease as an attack from a demon or evil spirit, an intangible and invisible enemy that had to be driven out of their bodies if they were to survive. If the disease settled in an arm or a leg, they simply lopped it off. If it appeared to be inside the body, they would take out the poisonous witch brews in an effort to drive out their imagined demons. Unfortunately, this primitive misconception about the cause of the disease led to the original origin of the belief in curing disease. As the Western civilization came to adopt the monotheistic idea of supreme being, the belief in cures persisted with their faith. Since people came to believe that God was a loving Father, they concluded that He must have provided a means of curing the disease which He had permitted to occur. Consequently, the endless search for cures from an animal, plant, or mineral kingdoms has occupied in the minds of humankind throughout the centuries. Medical sciences continue to search for new cures in its sophisticated laboratories. Every few days or weeks, the news media reports the discovery of some new drug to cure disease. However, inevitable side effects replace the hopes with continued despair until another great medical discovery reaches the headlines. From our inherited fear of disease, we have been given a tremendous legacy of suffering. And yet, the poisonous medical concoctions are continued to be revered and endorsed by the United States Pharmacopoeia. This curing mentality is still a mighty force in our present age in medical sophistication. In fact, the importance of the fear reaction in combination with the cure syndrome cannot be overestimated. Essentially, the curing mentality has proven to be a no-win battle against the natural laws of life. Actually, it is this belief in curing that poses the greatest obstacle in discovering a solution to our health problems. We should be concentrating our efforts on the true causes of disease rather than attempting to cure the symptoms. Additionally, we must be admitted that medicine is a business. Like any other business, its members have similar vanities, motives, and desires. The same social forces and economic conditions surround it as retailers, bookkeepers, bricklayers, and carpenters. They all pursue their calling for the same purpose. Hospitals must fill their beds. Money must be raised for expansion and research. Physicians must have a full schedule of patients each day, etc., etc. And we end there today. Cool. Hope you enjoyed that, and until next time.